Previously on The Struggle is Real. Welcome to the channel. I'm Cultural Rogue and I'll be your host. You're watching The Struggle is Real series, where the struggle is a massive backlog of games to tackle, and there's a wheel. Said wheel will be used to determine the fate of what game will be featured for each episode. Each episode will include a first impression, some general thoughts and feelings, some highlights, and a verdict on whether I recommend it or not. So let's give this thing a spin and see what fate has in store for us. Heavy bullets. Alright, so looks like this game has some achievements and trading cards. Let's go ahead and check out the store page. Released in 2014, has very positive reviews. Good to hear. Currently $1.99 on Steam right now. Original price is going to cost you $10. It's a first-person shooter, action roguelike. Has an interesting art style. Sweet. Let's kick off this review. Heavy Bullets is a roguelike FPS, brought to you by indie developers Terry Velman and doseone, then published by Devolver Digital, who've published games like Hotline Miami and the Serious Sam series. There isn't much story to speak of with this game, but the gist is that you're thrust into the basement of a seedy corporate headquarters building that's been overrun by creatures that, well, I guess the best way to describe them is if whatever planet Pac-Man is from got invaded by the face fuckers from Aliens. These little bastards would be the xenomorphs that pop out of their chest. Anyways, you have to fight your way through 8 levels of these baddies, as well as a variety of turrets and drones that are on the fritz. The goal is to reach the mainframe at the bottom and reset the security system, with a boss to fight on both the 4th and 8th levels. The main gameplay mechanic is reusable bullets, which is implied by the title. You have a 6-chamber revolver with heavy bullets that drop at the point of impact and can be picked up again. It's a clever little mechanic that forces the player to plan their shots accordingly. If the targets are far away, there's a chance to run out of bullets when enemies are still lurking behind corners, between you and where your bullets landed. It has the typical die, rinse and repeat features associated with the roguelike genre. Fight your way through randomly generated levels and hope for good favor from the RNG gods for items and vending machines. Each run can go one of 2 ways. A good run that's full of useful items that'll ensure victory in combat and is worth spending some funds on increasing stats. Or a bad run, where focus should be shifted towards putting all your money in the bank, or grabbing a last will, which will make keys, bullets, and bombs carry over to the next attempt, at the cost of an inventory slot, which you only have 1 of. You can have 1 additional slot with a backpack, and 1 slot for permanent storage in the bank. That slot is reserved for the best items in the game, items that are useful for any playthrough. For example, the Disruptor, which allows you to pass through laser gates that do damage and prevent you from accessing already explored areas. There are a variety of items to find and use for each playthrough, some of which can have pretty hefty negative effects or are just plain not that useful at all, so selling is kind of the better choice. A big part of the game is just figuring out what's what. The combat and controls take some getting used to. Initially, you'll have to fight the urge to run and gun. The flow of combat is more intended to be short bursts of action, constantly checking corners and progressing through each level a few steps at a time in a calm and more calculated way. Once combat, item, and enemy mechanics are all figured out, the get good phase of the game is complete. Planning starts to go smoothly and successful runs become a lot more common. Heavy Bullets has a unique stylization, with neon colors and various jungle-like objects that camouflage enemies and obscure vision. The level design is full of corners for enemies to hide behind, so the experience is a bit anxiety-inducing. which I'm sure is exactly what the devs were going for. That being said, a lot of the sound design feels like it's intended to create that high anxiety effect. It's just done really poorly in my opinion. This is probably the biggest gripe that I have with the game. The sound is way too loud by default and has a lot of scratchy and high-pitched sound bites that get incredibly grating on the nerves and can easily blow out speakers or headphones. I had to reduce the global volume down to 2 in order to get it to something manageable, which is a shame because there are a lot of pleasant sounding sounds that are satisfying that are thrown in there, and sound cues are pretty crucial for locating enemies and vending machines. Despite that, the music is actually pretty decent. It plays kind of sporadically during gameplay though. The only way to get it to play constantly is with the boombox item that can be found and equipped. The original soundtrack is available for sale on Steam if you're interested, but I elected to use the boombox to sample some of the tracks you use for a death montage. So sit back, relax, and enjoy watching me die over and over again. Well, that was a ball of anxiety. Let's wrap things up with a verdict. I put in around 25 hours of gameplay. I managed to complete the game, and I've completed 7 out of 17 achievements, so there is some added incentive for replayability. Heavy Bullets is far from a bad game. Its reusable bullet mechanic and anxiety-inducing jump scare styled gameplay, coupled with its retro neon vaporwave stylization, gives it a ton of unique charm. It can be off-putting at first with its bad sound design and weird learning curve. It takes some getting used to for sure, but sticking it through paid off in the end, and the game really grew on me. I ended up thoroughly enjoying the game, so thumbs up from me. However, the sound design alone is enough for me to recommend waiting for a sale. I can't quite recommend paying full asking price. I'd say under $5 would make it an obvious pickup. So, Heavy Bullets will be the first entry into the wait for sale category. That about wraps things up. First, let's give the wheel another spin and see what fate has in store for us. Fate. It's a little on the nose. Congratulations on making it to the end. You did it. Yay. Thumbs up from me. Be sure to like and subscribe, and let us know what you think of the series so far. This is Cultural Rogue, signing out.